I don't know where I was going with that. I was just really excited about it. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Absolute Authority on Film. I am Cutter, your host, and I want you guys to know that, if you don't know already, the title of this podcast is an absolute joke. It is my tongue-in-cheek way of poking fun at people who think they are the absolute authority on how to do anything in the film and television industry. I think that's bupkis. I think that I'm not going to say that people in Hollywood don't know what they're doing. What I am going to say is that nobody in Hollywood can predict what is going to resonate with audiences. They can't predict this screenplay is going to sell, this movie is going to be a big draw, this screenplay over here is not going to sell. They can't predict that. They try to, but it's a big dice roll. And I understand that when you're working with a studio that has limited resources, you have to be picky and choosy. I get that. I absolutely get that. And for those studios, I do sincerely hope that everything they put out is a banger. I really do. And gives them a huge ROI. I absolutely do hope and sincerely want that for those studios. But the reality is, it ain't always like that. People can't predict the future. People can't predict what art is going to resonate with people. So today, I thought that I would take a little break from the screenwriting podcast, and we will talk about screenwriting and filmmaking advice. How to take it, who to take it from, and who to definitely not take it from. So the first thing you want to look for is this person purporting to be an expert on filmmaking or screenwriting or what have you? I do not. I'm not going to quite say a neophyte. I've been doing this for a little over a decade, but I'm nowhere near an expert. Okay? I'm just muddling along doing the best I can, which I firmly believe is what most of Hollywood is doing, which that's all we can do. I mean, I'm not blaming anybody for that. That's the nature of the business. But one thing that really drives me nuts are people who confuse their own personal opinions for, well, this is how you have to do it. For instance, with screenwriting, I will tell you straight up that when I write, I like to write within the parameters of the quote-unquote rules. The reason I like to do that is because if I can write a compelling story and compelling characters within those guidelines, then I can fucking write. As a general rule, and this is my own personal opinion, so don't get upset if it goes against yours, it's just my personal opinion. People who are starting out screenwriting, like you're new to it, you're just getting your feet wet, I strongly recommend you follow those guidelines. Do yourselves a favor. Pick yourselves up The Screenwriter's Bible by David Trottier. It's a brilliant treatise on story structure and screenwriting structure, and will give you the absolute best of the fundamentals. I know a lot of other people recommend the Save the Cat series. I personally don't vibe with that as much. I'll be honest with you. It is mainly because of the Save the Cat premise, which is that in order for your protagonist to be likable, you should have him do something in the beginning of the film, like saving a cat, that establishes him or her as a empathetic character. My philosophy is that your main character, your protagonist, does not have to be likable. They have to be interesting. So I don't really go with Save the Cat. Fine if you do. If that's what works for you, if that's what you vibe with, you knock yourselves out. Enjoy it. Do that. I have no issue with that. There are many different paths to the top of a mountain. All I can do is tell you what my path is. That doesn't mean it's your path. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Follow your path. All I'm telling you is what has worked for me. And hopefully it will work for one of y'all as well. So that's the first thing you want to look for. Is this person saying that they are an expert on screenwriting, filmmaking, what have you? If they say that they are, if they say, well, I've been doing this for 25 years, I know what I'm doing. No, you don't. Not that you don't know what you're doing, but nobody really does. So look for the people like me who are telling you, look, I don't know. It may work for you, it may not. Those are the people you want to take advice from. The very second thing you want to do is look at their IMDb page. Do they have one, first of all? IMDb is the Internet Movie Database. It is the absolute repository for everything film and television. And if they don't have writing credits on IMDb, but they're giving screenwriting advice? Girl, really? You want to take all that with a grain of salt. And that's not necessarily to say that their advice is wrong, but you want to take it with a grain of salt. Like, maybe they're onto something. Maybe they don't have any idea what they're talking about. It's kind of like when you go to find a lawyer. You should be looking them up on your state's bar website. Because if you can't find them on the bar website, are they supposed to be practicing law? It's the same thing with screenwriting. Now, lawyers are a whole lot more certified than screenwriters, clearly. And there's nothing wrong with that. They should be. But if you're trying to take advice from a screenwriter, you need to look up where the screenwriters are going to have their credentials, which is IMDb. And the great thing about IMDb is that it's global. You can look up just about every movie everywhere and find people's names to see if they are who they say they are or have the expertise that they say they have. But if you look them up, I've seen this too. If you look them up, and they do have an IMDb page, but it's like production assistant. Not going to say they don't have any writing expertise, but again, grain of salt, you know? At least they're in the industry. I've had several people, I've seen several people put advice up on social media, and when I went to look them up, they have no IMDb page whatsoever. Like, are they saying, hey, here's something you should do as a screenwriter? Oh, and by the way, come look at my website where you can sign up for my masterclass in screenwriting for $350. Are you done, Chonk? Okay. So as a general rule, if somebody's trying to sell you something, a consultancy, a course on whatever, screenwriting, filmmaking, 9 times out of 10, they're probably a grifter. And they're not really going to help you build anything for yourself. One of the latest scams that I found is wedding videography. I have seen a lot of people, a lot of purported wedding videographers talk about, well, we'll get you to $100,000 a year within 3 months. But there's no IMDb for wedding video. Like I could go out myself. I could go out and shoot a bunch of wedding videos using actors and shoot enough scenes to put together a 2-minute reel to make it look like, oh yeah, I shot all these wedding videos. Me personally, I'm going to assume that all of those, not that wedding videographers are a scam, but all of the ones that are purporting to teach you how to become a wedding videographer, probably a scam. I would just steer clear of them. So let's get into how to tell whether or not somebody is giving good advice or somebody is talking about a personal opinion. I recently saw a post, and this is kind of what generated this whole video. I saw a post where this person was talking about that they hate when screenwriters put in an exposition dump of the character talking to themselves, which I understand. Not one of my favorite things either. I get it. However, this person was telling screenwriters, don't ever do this. Don't ever do it. First of all, I'm going to tell you there are two lies when it comes to human beings. The first lie is always, and the second lie is never. Those two terms do not ever apply to human beings. And I know I just used one of them, the never part. But it's true. We are inconsistent creatures. So the words always and never don't work for us, especially when it comes to things like art, because art is so subjective. I know there are people out there that probably love that sort of exposition dump. They find it amusing, they find it entertaining. That's okay. So that's a piece of advice that is not a piece of advice. It is somebody's personal opinion. And I've seen several of them over the last couple of weeks, mostly from noob screenwriters. I've looked them up and they don't have any credits. But they seem to have very strong opinions. And they seem to think that their very strong opinions are shared by everybody. And that's just not the case. I have very strong opinions, but I know that my opinions are not shared by everyone. I have very strong opinions based on factual information. I also know that I have very strong opinions based on my own personal, what I like. And that's okay. And it's okay for other people to like things that I don't like or to not like things that I like. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is when you try to position your opinion as the absolute fact of the matter. And that's never the case. This person not liking exposition dumps of the character talking to themselves is their personal opinion. And that's fine. They're not required to like that. But to then go on social media and say, this is how you should never do this because nobody likes this. That's not the case. So the two things you want to look for there is, number one, is this person sound like they are speaking for everybody in general? Or are they just saying, I really hate it when this. If they're saying, I don't like it when this happens in a film, that's fine. They're allowed to say that. They're allowed to post their opinions. That's perfectly, there's nothing wrong with that. I have no issue with that. The issue comes when they try and make it sound like they are speaking for everybody. And I know that this person knew that they were wrong. I know this person knew that they were actually just posting opinion because they said in the very next sentence, and for those of you who are going to post scenes where it actually worked, if it actually worked, it actually worked. That completely destroys your argument that nobody likes it. What you're doing is you're confusing your opinion for everybody's opinion. And you got to stop doing that. In any kind of art, you have to stop doing that. Art is extremely subjective. It's one of the few things that we have on this planet that is subjective. You're allowed to like what you like and not like what you don't like. You're not allowed to tell everybody else that they should like the same things you like and not like the same things you don't like. And you're not allowed to say, I don't like this, therefore nobody should like it. That's just insanity. And also and then this person also went on to say, as soon as I see that in a screenplay, I know that the screenwriter doesn't know what they're doing. As soon as I see you say that, I know that you don't know what you're talking about either. And couple that with the fact that they don't have an IMDb page. I mean, it's fine. It's fine if you don't like that. Again, there is nothing wrong with that being your opinion. You're certainly welcome to it. I'm sorry, it cracks me up. It irritates me, but it cracks me up because it's the epitome, to me it's the epitome of noob screenwriter. You know, and not just screenwriters, just noob at anything, where they hear an opinion that they vibe with, or they feel an opinion that they vibe with, and then they just, this is stated fact. But it's not. It's an opinion. It's an opinion. And it's okay. It's okay to be an opinion. It's okay to have an opinion. But stop confusing your opinions with facts. And that pretty much goes for everything, not just art. All right, fuck it. I'm just going to go ahead and get a little political here. Opinions are not facts. Your opinions are your opinions. And you also need to know the difference between opinions and facts. Okay? An opinion is something subjective. Something that cannot be proven. I like mushrooms on pizza is an opinion. I'm allowed to. I don't like pineapple on pizza is an opinion. Vaccines are dangerous is not an opinion. You're just fucking wrong. Political soapbox over. My point being that, especially with art, yes, you can have opinions. No, you cannot force your opinions on other people. Other people are allowed to have opinions, and also opinions and facts are two different things. No, I do not have to respect your opinion if it's wrong. It's wrong. It's not your opinion, it's just wrong. You're wrong. I also don't have to take your advice if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, or if I think you don't know what you're talking about. Okay? If you are a noob screenwriter, your best bet is to just be quiet and learn from other people. And learn from the people that have done the thing that you're trying to do. One of the things that drives me absolutely nuts about screenwriters, and especially about noob screenwriters, this is one of the phrases on screenwriting that I don't like. And it's not that it's bad advice, it's not that it's a bad thing to say, but it's misinterpreted so much. So much. And that is, there are no real rules to screenwriting. Technically, that's true. However, when a noob screenwriter hears that, they think it means that they can write whatever gobbledygook they want to, and a studio has to buy it, which is not the case. It's not the case. And this is why I strongly recommend to new screenwriters that you follow the rules. I call them guidelines. They're guidelines. Follow the guidelines. Keep your story within the guidelines. Keep your characters within the guidelines. Because if you can write that compelling characters and story within the guidelines, then you will begin to understand the character building and story structure, which is the ultimate goal. And then once you understand that structure, then you can begin to stray outside of it, to experiment, to play with it. That's what that phrase means. It's not a phrase that really should be told to new screenwriters. But it is a realization or a recognition that you must come to on your own, and you must figure out on your own. That point when you understand the structure enough to start straying outside of it a little bit. And one piece of advice that I do hold to is that you cannot break the rules until you understand them. And that when you do break them, it has to be for a purpose. Not just because somebody told you, there are no rules, do whatever you want. No. No, do not. Learn the structure, learn how to build a story, learn how to build characters. Compelling characters and compelling story. Then you can break the rules here and there. I had one screenwriter that I had told I would take a look at their screenplay. Here's another piece of advice coming up in just a second. I had told them I would take a look at their script and give them thoughts, opinions, not really notes, because they said it's the first draft and they just want to make sure that they were on the right track. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I can take a look. Recommendation: do not send your first draft to anybody. Ever. I made that mistake too. I was sorely disappointed. You will be too. If you are sending a first draft out to people to get notes, be prepared to have it be ripped to shreds. Now, I don't do that. If somebody tells me this is a first draft, I'll be like, okay. And I'll skim through it and I'll be like, okay, you've got some things you need to fix, but I'm not going to give you notes on those because I'm pretty confident that in subsequent edits you'll catch it yourself. But if you're looking for yes, you're on the right track with the story, or the story has good bones, it just needs to be, fleshed out, cleaned up a little bit, yeah, I can do that. Not a problem. Not a problem. Or, hey, if you try this instead, this might work better. Don't send your first draft to people. Unless you trust them. Unless they're close. Don't just send your first draft to anybody. But this other person sent me a first draft, and they were one of the "there are no rules, write however you want" noobs. And I was incredibly disappointed because every single action line started with "we see" or "we hear." And I'm not saying you can't do that. And I'm not saying there are filmmakers out there who won't accept that. It is one of my pet peeves. Directing on the page. I don't like directing on the page. Again, my personal opinion, my personal pet peeve. Doesn't mean that everybody else follows that. As a filmmaker, if I see that on the page, my immediate reaction is, oh, you're telling me how to do my job. You're telling me how to set up the shot. That's not your job. Your job is to tell me the story. My job is to set up the shots to bring it to life as the filmmaker. That's just my reaction. And I do know, I'm not going to say every filmmaker, but I do know there are other filmmakers out there who have that same reaction. Which is another reason why I give the advice of write it within the guidelines to increase your chances of selling it. Because when you do all the "we see, we hear," camera pans, camera tilts, the directing on the page, you're going to turn off a lot of filmmakers. If you write it within the guidelines, you're not going to turn off the filmmakers who wouldn't be turned off by the "we see, we hear." But you're going to open it up for the ones who do. That's why I say learn to write within the guidelines, especially if you are trying to sell a spec script. If you're writing a script for yourself to shoot, write it however you want to. Whatever works for you. Fuck yeah. Handwrite notes in, whatever you want to do. If it helps you set up your own shots, do what you got to do, man. I don't care. I'm never going to see it. But if you're trying to sell the script to a studio or to a filmmaker, write it within the guidelines so that you don't potentially turn off the filmmaker that you want to shoot it. Again, if they don't care either way, it's not going to bother them if you write it within the guidelines and you don't direct on the page. But if you direct on the page, you stand the chance of turning off the filmmaker that you want to make your film. So, we're going to stop there. That's going to be my advice for this week. And my other advice is don't give advice. If you're new, don't give advice. Take advice. Learn. And again, it's okay to have opinions. Certainly fine in any form of artistic endeavor to have opinions on what you like and what you don't like. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't mistake your opinions for what everybody feels. Another piece of advice I'm going to give, and this is me personally. There are other schools of thought, and that's fine. You will never hear me talk about art I don't like. There's plenty of it. There is plenty of art out there that I viscerally loathe. You'll never hear me talk about it. Why? Because somebody else out there might enjoy it. And I don't want to yuck their yum. I hate it when people do it to me. I hate it when somebody shits on a piece of art that I enjoy. It taints it for me. It really does. I mean, that's the nature of being a sensitive artist, I guess, is other people's opinions affect you more than you want them to. Don't do that to people. If you don't like something, that's fine. You don't have to like it. But you don't have to make it your entire personality. That's why I hate these YouTubers with the, I'm going to hate watch Star Wars and then do content about how much I hate Star Wars. Just to use Star Wars as an example, but MCU, plenty of other things. Don't do that. So you're not a Star Wars fan is what you're telling me. If you don't like the thing that you purport to be a fan of, how are you a fan of it? Anyway, sorry, another soapbox for me. But don't shit on other people's art. Especially if you know how difficult it is to get a film made. I'm not going to tell you my opinion on it, but there is a film out there that has been nicknamed the Citizen Kane of bad movies. And that film is The Room. I'm not shitting on it. I'm not shitting on it at all. I am telling you that a lot of people don't like it. A lot of other people do. That's fine. But my point is that it got made. Tommy Wiseau put his heart and soul into it and made the fucking film. And that's beautiful. Whether I like it or not, it's beautiful because it takes so much to get a film made. That's why I don't shit on other people's art. Because it takes so much and we put so much into it. So much of ourselves into it. I put so much of me into my scripts that it's not even funny. And I know that I have a reader right now who has caught a lot of what I have put into my own scripts. And it kind of blows me away a little bit how much she has correctly guessed was me. Don't shit on people's art because they do. They put themselves into it. They put their heart and their soul and their vulnerabilities into it. And that is a hard thing to do for anybody. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery to do that. So don't shit on it when they do. Go out and enjoy what you enjoy. That's fine. But don't assume that because you enjoy it, everybody else does. And don't assume that things you don't enjoy, nobody else does. Because it's just not the case. Anyway, y'all carry on smartly.